It's important that you do it quickly. When you're in the supermarket and you have those baggies there, okay? And they're all a roll of these things, huh? And you've got your arms loaded. Do you have to put it down, hold the bag, and tear? No. You can just whip. Do it quickly, right? If you do it quickly, the bag will tear. What happens if you do it slowly? Okay. You got to do it quickly, okay? Now, I can show you this in a different way, a little bit more dramatic. Let's try it. I could have hung the anvil, for example, by the strings, but I'd have to have a very strong string to hold it, wouldn't I? And if the anvil were hanging there and I whipped it, in the same way, that the bottom string would break, leave the top one, unbroken, huh? But instead of pulling on it, why don't I push on it? Let's suppose I put the anvil over here.
You're not going to throw it.
Okay. This got a lot of mass. Right now it's at rest. What's it tend to remain at? Begins with an R. Rest, okay? There's a hammer. Okay? Would you put your head under there? Answer begins with a Y. You're a believer, aren't you? Don't you believe in physics? You could put your head under there. You know why? This thing's at rest. You hit it, going to tend to stay at rest. Your head's okay. Okay? Can I have a volunteer put their head underneath there, huh? Okay, tell you what, I'll do it. Okay? Can I have a volunteer man the hammer? Okay? Okay?
Remember the rest.
Now, I'll tell you what we'll do is I won't put it in my head, I'll put it in my chest. Could you help us, please? Okay. Put it right here. Right here. Oh, God. Okay, sit down, please. Okay, gang, it's for science. Harder. You see the physics there? A body at rest tends to stay at rest. And the force was too brief, not strong enough to appreciably move this. A little bit of give. That's why I didn't put it in the head, okay? A little bit of give in the old stomach, and therefore everything is A-okay. Got it? With a hammer. Inertia with a hammer. Do you ever want to tighten the head of a hammer? How do you do that?
Hit the handle.
Hit the handle, that's right. It's like this. This might have been your first lesson in inertia. Remember when you were a kid and this part of the hammer was loose and you were going like this to get it, make it tighter? And old Uncle Harry walked by and Uncle Harry said, "No, there, child, you don't do it that way." And Uncle Harry said, "You do it like this. That will tighten the hammerhead much better." And you looked at Uncle Harry and you said,
HC.
"How come, right?" And old Uncle Harry said, what did Uncle Harry say? Didn't Uncle Harry call your attention to the inertia of the mass, the metal part up here? Doesn't this have more mass than the handle? And didn't Uncle Harry say that when you get a lot of mass moving, it's going to tend to keep on moving? And when the handle is stopped by the thing below, doesn't that matter? Tend to keep right on going? Isn't that the law of inertia? A body in motion tend to stay in motion? And then that scrunch right on there? And so you do it that way, and don't we all do it that way? And when you do it that way, aren't you calling into play your idea that things that are moving tend to keep moving? And the more massive they are, the more that tendency, huh? Isn't it like driving two cars over some railroad tracks? One's a Cadillac and one's a Volkswagen, and you got a crate of eggs in the back seat? How many say same? You drive that Volkswagen, not very much mass over the tracks. Okay. How about the old Caddy? Right on over. A body in motion with a lot of mass tend to keep right on going. Smaller one too. But when a force interacts, then, hey, what happens? The one with the more mass tends to keep right on doing what it's doing. That's the law of inertia. On your driver's license, it mentions your height, how tall you are. Isn't that true? Some friend says to you, "Hey, how tall are you?" What do you say? You say, "What do you want my morning height or do you want my evening height?" True or false? Let me tell you something about you might not know. Did you know that you are taller in the morning than in the night? And did you know the reason for that has to do with inertia, today's topic? This hammerhead, if I keep hitting and hitting and hitting, won't it keep settling, settling, settling? Don't you have hammerheads back here in your backbone? Doesn't it consist of many bones, which are all separated by a little cartilage? And if I go like this, see that thing settle, settle, settle? Especially if it had cartilage in there instead of wood, right? What do you suppose happened to you when you boom, 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 boom? You see what happened? You choom, choom, choom. At the end of the day, you're like this, okay? You get in your bed at nighttime and you all come back again, okay? You get up in the morning, you are taller. Now, how many say, oh, okay, what a smidgen, smidgen, smidgen? Am I talking about a smidgen or am I talking about many smidgens? Begin with M. Many. It's a lot. In fact, I got a project for you to do. And the project is to show you that it's not a small effect. You are quite a bit taller in the morning than in the night. And I want you to measure that. Tonight, when you go home, please remember to do this. When you go home tonight, barefoot, before you hit the sack, reach up on the wall and see if you can touch something. It's best if there's something that's just a little bit out of reach, like maybe a beam ceiling or a chandelier. Reach up to something you can't quite touch, okay? Try. You just can't do it. Hit the sack. Morning time, get up, bare feet, reach up, whoop, boom. You'll find your hands are clamped right onto that thing. For real. Scout's honor, try it. You really are taller in the morning than the night. Has to do with what? Inertia. Yeah. Now we have two objects, both the same color. Almost the same color. Okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to belt these things with a hammer, and let's see how they respond. Which of these has the greater mass? Which, interestingly, brings us to a point. Some people think that how much mass is how big. Something with a lot of mass has to be big, like a big pillow. And something that's small can't be very massive, like an automobile battery. See? How much matter is in something and how much space it takes up are different ideas. Don't confuse mass with volume, because these have the same volume, but they have a different amount of matter. Watch this. When I hit the top one, now I hit the bottom one. Okay, huh? Would you dare put your head over here while I hit it? NWB, right? No way, baby, okay? But how about this one here? Would you put your head there? Sure. You see that? Has a lot of mass. Now, what's the reason that this one didn't respond and this did?
That one weighs more?
No, this is a little lighter color. You see that? Can you see it's a different shade of gray? Okay? So it's the color that counts, right? Okay? True or false? Tilt or no tilt? Tilt. Okay, it's the amount of matter involved. You can see this is wood and this is iron. Same size, same volume, even same-ish color, but different amount of material, different amount of mass. And this sort of thing would behave just the same way if I were in a place with stronger gravity, weaker gravity, or no gravity at all. So don't say that mass and weight are the same thing. Something with mass has weight if it's in a gravity region, a gravitational field on a planet's surface or something like that. But the amount of matter in an object is independent of that. It's fundamental. It has to do with the matter that's in there regardless of its location in the universe. Difference between the two. Any questions? Now, so far we've been talking about objects at rest mainly. Objects at rest tend to remain at rest. Turns out that objects that are moving tend to remain moving anyway. And this idea was not acknowledged by people about 400 years ago when Copernicus announced that the Earth revolves around the sun. And the whole idea that the Earth moves was so revolutionary, shook the foundations of reason with many, many people. Not the foundations of reason, but maybe the foundations of faith and other ideas. How can the Earth possibly be moving, it was argued. Calculations were made. If it was true that the Earth was moving around the sun, as Copernicus suggested, then the Earth would have to be moving at more than 100,000 kilometers per hour. 100,000 kilometers per hour. That's about 30 kilometers per second. Here was one of the arguments that went against the idea that the Earth could possibly move. And it's this. Consider a field, tree, tall tree. At the top of the tree, a bird. Underneath the bird, a fat, juicy worm burrows up from the ground. Bird food. Bird's at the top of the tree, sees the worm below, drops from the tree, boom, grabs the worm, flies back up to the tree. Can that happen? Yes, it can. And it was argued the fact that that is a common happening is evidence that the world cannot move. Because if the world was moving at 30 kilometers per second, and that bird lets go of the branch and takes a second to get down below, then that worm is swept 30 kilometers away. And a bird could not go 30 kilometers in 1 second. Therefore, the Earth does not move. The Earth, my friend, is at rest. Now, what would you say to counter that argument? I want you to think about that, okay? Later. Physics.